Chapter 1. What a shame, Angela gazed longingly out the window. Here it was Christmas morning, and there was no snow in sight. As her entire family gathered to celebrate yet another holiday, she remained in her own familiar world, wishing there was more to life than her hometown. Being 32 and not once ever traveling outside McCleary was as depressing as always. She wanted a little excitement in her life. It pulled her down like an invisible anchor wrapped around her neck. Having one failed marriage on her resume, and currently in a successful one. Although it had its problems, everyone would say, "Angela, just enjoy what you have already accomplished. Don't long for more." Well, she couldn't help it. It's not like her life was miserable. After all, she had a beautiful home, a reliable car that was able to comfortably fit all of her incredible children, and an adoring, somewhat needy husband. She should feel blessed, right? "Mommy, Mommy," her son Liam tugged on her red and green Christmas pajamas. Looking down at his cherubic face, Angela thought how lovely his blonde hair was, even though it was badly in need of a cut. "Yes, dear." "Can we open presents now?" he pleaded, hopping up and down in front of her, thoroughly excited. Even though she wanted to cave, they couldn't open presents yet. She, Liam, and Angela's mother, Julia, were the only ones awake. She smiled down at him. "No, we have to wait for everyone else to join us, so they can enjoy opening their gifts too," she said in her sweetest tone of voice, hoping to avoid the tantrum he was sure to throw because he was ever told no. Angela's daughter, Bella, was the next to wake up and straggle out of bed, along with Angela's niece, Sylvia. Bella was exquisite. Tall and thin, she possessed light brown hair that fell past her shoulders, bright brown eyes, and olive-toned skin. She was also getting very close to passing Angela in height. However, seeing as Angela was around 5 feet, that wasn't a difficult goal to achieve. Her beauty was memorable. But poor Bella had already gone through so much in her 12 years of life, by having to deal with her beloved parents' divorce. And now, Angela shuddered just thinking about it. She'd soon be hitting those teen years that involved nothing but angst for young women. Sylvia, on the other hand, took after her own mother, Neveah. Gorgeous, she had jet black hair, her body was completely toned and in shape, and was already over the 5 feet mark. Being 2 years older than Bella made Sylvia already a teenager and full of sass. She, too, had to deal with a father who was not very nice. He was a man who had made it clear that no one could ever measure up to his expectations. When he had decided to abandon Sylvia and Neveah, it was not a depressive time. In fact, since he had been gone, the entire family was able to enjoy life, because they knew they wouldn't be constantly chastised by the maniac anymore. "Good morning, gals," Angela said, smiling at the tired, yawning young ladies. "Good morning," Sylvia smiled back. "Morning, Mom," Bella grumbled. She walked towards the couch, hunched over like an old woman who'd lost her cane and was going to drop at any moment. Without another word, both girls flopped down on the couch, cell phones already in hand, completely prepared to wait until the rest of the family woke up to join them. Angela sat there looking at the girls, shaking her head. I wonder what they'd do if electronics ceased to exist, and they no longer had a way to let the world pass them by. She laughed just a little thinking about it. Neveah, Angela's sister, was the next to rise along with her son Zachary. Standing a bit taller than Angela, at 5'4", Neveah possessed lovely caramel-toned skin and long wavy black hair. Being 37 and an exceptionally talented woman, she fought with her own self-doubts on a daily basis. She acted guarded most of the time, and when it came to getting a good night's sleep, for Neveah it was like asking the gods for $1 million. not ever getting enough of it, was leaving dark circles under her eyes. Although she did have every right to be that way. With an ex-husband who treated her terribly, it was going to take something big to make Neveah come out of hiding and leave the nightmares behind. Sylvia, Zachary, and Bella had moved on to sorting the Christmas presents and making piles dedicated to every beloved family member. All the kids certainly thought it was going to be just like every year, excited when a holiday tag appeared on the gift just for them. Liam, of course, was giddy, helping his elders every step of the way. Sylvia picked up a present addressed to Bella and handed it to her. This one's yours. It feels heavy," she giggled, lifting it with both hands and putting it in Bella's lap. "Thanks," Bella said, taking the beautifully wrapped package and placing it with the rest of her gifts that were already piling up. As Angela continued watching the children with Neveah beside her, already enjoying her phone, a noise came from her bedroom, and out walked Eric. With Leah in his arms, Angela's heart filled with joy as she stared at Eric, her adoring husband, and Leah, their first beautiful child together. 6 years old, she sported long, silky blonde hair that was impossible to cut. When Leah was only 3, she'd been officially diagnosed with nonverbal autism, and to this day did not tolerate anyone touching her hair. "Good morning, dear," Eric said, walking over to his beautiful wife and kissing her on the lips. Placing Leah in her arms, he proceeded to walk to the recliner, sit down, and start sending out Christmas wishes to everyone on Facebook. Angela remained silent. After all, she couldn't chastise the man, seeing as that everyone else was addicted to their phones too. Even Leah had the urge. Although autistic, she was a true genius with technology. Angela handed Leah her own phone, set her in the chair, walked to the kitchen, and looked for much-needed coffee beans kept in the top cupboard above the pot. To her dismay, they were out. The adults got up from their seats at Angela's heartfelt groan, and walked into the kitchen. Eric was already getting the pen and pad off the refrigerator to make one out the list he'd have to get as he ran down to the local coffee shop. "Can we open presents now?" the kids yelled in unison from the living room, oblivious to the need for caffeine. They were focused on the only important thing in their unified world. "Hold on," Angela called back, trying to keep the grumpiness from her voice. Izak, Angela and Neveah's brother, was the last family member to wake up, apparently rising because his sister's voice had annoyed him just enough. The epitome of what most would call a ladies' man. Every friend they'd had when they were growing up had always chased after him, commenting that he was nothing short of mouth-wateringly gorgeous every time they saw him. With his thick, jet black hair and caramel-toned skin, even though he only reached around 5'8" and possessed a medium build, Izak's brilliant smile and amazing, alluring voice was among the gifts that caused women to go crazy. Izak was also a wonderful brother, highly supportive. It was hard to imagine him having a temper that could shake you from the inside out and make your brain want to run for cover. It was heartbreaking that he had to struggle with his own internal demons that the world labeled as addiction. The family continued to hope that one day he would come out of his subconscious completely, leave the drugs behind, and see the light of life once again shine in his beautiful eyes. As the kids' fervor grew, the adults tried to clear their heads. They were exhausted from wrapping presents all night and desperately needed that coffee. With a busy morning ahead, they required caffeine energy to conquer the day. "Could you grab me some smokes when you go coffee hunting?" Angela asked. "I suppose," he said, rolling his eyes, teasing his wife. He knew the line would be incredibly long and was not entirely thrilled about it, but Eric always wanted to make the family happy. Angela smiled at him. Eric was a truly kind man. Of course, for those who didn't know him, they would be very intimidated by his physical appearance. At over 6 feet, Eric was built like a Viking. Add in bright blonde hair, a short, well-manicured beard, and a face decorated with a set of charming dimples that allowed him to produce a smile that could knock a woman off her feet. And it wasn't a surprise that Angela felt envy from those around her. "Hey everyone, what you doing?" Izak said, making his way into the kitchen. "We're ordering coffees. Do you want one?" answered Neveah. By just looking at her brother, she knew he was high. "Why do we have to wait for you guys to get coffee?" Bella interrupted, her voice bordering on rude. "Shh, just a second," hushed Angela, as everyone shouted out their orders. As every instruction from triple shot to frap to espresso to mocha came at him, Eric wrote it all down, gave his wife a kiss, and headed for the door. "I'll be back." Watching him drive away, Julia and Izak sat on the porch playing with the dogs. Izak, instead of being a father to children, had 4 canines that was interested in breeding them. He looked at his mom, asking for advice on when the best time would be. "I think you should wait until the females are over a year past their first heat," Julia responded, trying not to look at him in his bloodshot eyes. "I agree." The kids remained inside with Angela and Neveah. Playing on their phones, they fought the overwhelming urge to start tearing the wrapping paper off the boxes. Leah remained quiet, as Liam looked over Sylvia's shoulder, watching her play a game. "Sis, come look at some new jewelry I made," Neveah said excitedly, walking out of the kitchen towards the living room table and sitting down. Angela followed behind and slid down the bench seat to sit beside her. "Sales have been nice, with the holidays and all," said Neveah, pulling a black leather case out from the drawer of the table and presenting the charming display of rings, necklace charms, and earrings of all different colors and shapes to her sister. "Wow, these are all so beautiful," exclaimed Angela. "You're really talented. I'm glad you started this business." "You really think so? Thank you." Neveah beamed with joy. "Oh, I also got some new crystals from that little street fair we went to in Seattle a week ago." Neveah proceeded to tell Angela about the intriguing stand and the odd woman named Ariana, who ran the place that sold gems, stones, and crystals. When Neveah finished telling Angela the story of the gypsy and the crazy experience she had there, Angela noted that her eyes seemed to glaze over and her voice grew deep. "Ever since I got these, though, my dreams have become even more vivid." "What does that mean?" Angela asked. I'm in a different realm with all sorts of unknown creatures. The land is beautiful, Angela, with a huge castle right in the middle of it." Neveah shook her head. "I know it sounds crazy, but there are new things I see that are completely unrealistic." Angela waited a moment, taking it all in. Finally, she smiled. "I think that's cool. Who knows, maybe the chick was a gypsy after all," Angela said teasingly, although she didn't really believe in that kind of stuff. She was happy her sister had finally found something to be excited about. "I wish we could live there," Neveah said, using the same dreamy voice. "It seems so peaceful, so much better than the world here." "So, tell me more about these crystals," Angela said, feeling a bit awkward. Taking them out of the black box, Neveah handed them to Angela, one by one, letting her study the amethyst and tiger's eye before handing her the stunning dragon's heart crystal that the gypsy had raved about. I absolutely love this one, Angela remarked, as the final unique stone met her flesh. As soon as Angela placed the glistening family of crystals back in Neveah's hand, the air grew still. Looking at the small decoration in the center of the table, Angela could swear she saw the legendary reindeer's token smile contort into an evil sneer. As Santa's sleigh appended, the ground began trembling as if an earthquake had stirred beneath her feet. Racing in from the porch, Julia screamed, "Quick! Under the table! Take cover!" Julia cried out as she ran in with Izak, who was pulling Zachary behind him. Angela jumped up and ran to Bella and Leah, pulling them both and pushing them under the table. "What's going on, Mom?" Bella panicked, gripping Angela tightly. "It's an earthquake, honey. It's okay. I've got you," she reassured the kids, using her strength to hold Bella and Leah firmly against her. Sylvia followed this family's lead after picking up Liam and dove under the table to join her own mother. Neveah, still grasping the crystals in her right hand, whispered, "Please protect my family. Please, please protect my family." The children had never experienced an earthquake before, and none of the adults had felt anything so powerful. Scared, huddled under the table, each offered up silent prayers to any god who was listening. When the bright, blinding flash burst into the room, they shut their eyes tightly. Angela found herself wondering what god had shot the lightning bolt and who exactly they were trying to hit.